Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey, facebook.com, the Hockey Podcast, where you can like and follow us there. Subscribe here, youtube.com, the Hockey Podcast, where you can like, subscribe, and share. And today we are going to make the case of why an offer sheet should be made to Sam Reinhart. Now, Jack Eichel is where most of the eyes are on with the Buffalo Sabres, but the other underlying story is Buffalo is Sam Reinhart, and he is a restricted free agent that is in a situation where he may want out. So, Sean, make your case. Should a GM make an offer sheet for Sam Reinhart?
All right, so Sam Reinhart is 1 year away from unrestricted free agency. He's a restricted free agent this year, and Buffalo is in the tailspin, a tire fire. Use whatever analogy you want to describe how rough a time it is for Sabres fans and that franchise. If they trade Jack Eichel, why does Sam Reinhart want to stay there? Even if they don't trade Jack Eichel, why does Sam Reinhart want to stay there? When you look at the offer sheet tool that doesn't get used enough, this is a really, really good opportunity to capitalize on that tool for teams out there. When you've got a team that is really struggling to put things together, and you've already had Ryan O'Reilly and now Jack Eichel and Patrick Berglund in the past all sort of make rumblings that they want out or legit ask out and say they've kind of lost their love of playing hockey because it just doesn't work there. This is how you get Sam Reinhart out of Buffalo for a minimal cost. Because if you're going to trade for Sam Reinhart, I think it's probably going to be a 3 or 4 piece deal where you're giving up a pick, a prospect, and a player. With the offer sheet tool, the compensation for up to just over $6.5 million in terms of cap hit and salary would be a first and a third round pick. And if you offer sheet Sam Reinhart with a 1 year deal at $6.5 million, what does Buffalo do? If they match it, the rules behind an offer sheet means that they cannot trade him until a year after that offer sheet is made. And that would be the offseason next year, where he's an unrestricted free agent and they don't have his rights anymore. So they would lose. They would gamble on potentially losing a very, very good top 6, I would argue top line player who can play both center and right wing for nothing. And in a team that we're looking at it going, maybe it's time to take a step back and try and rebuild again. Unfortunately for Sabres fans, I think that's what the best course of action is. And you lose a key piece for nothing, and your asset management is just going to get called out because it's absolute shit. The only other option is to match that, is to accept that offer sheet, take the compensation, which would only be a first and a third round pick, but it's better than losing him for nothing. The argument against it is that you normally would want to lock these players in long term to make an offer long term to try and make it so that it's better for you and it's not less of a gamble where you're paying a first and a third for 1 year of Sam Reinhart. But I don't think Sam Reinhart accepts an offer sheet for a long term deal, because what does Buffalo do? They match it, and they've got a key piece locked up long term in a situation where he's at the very best is probably questioning whether or not he wants to be a part of, if not wants out. So my argument is that someone needs to step up and offer Sam Reinhart a 1 year offer sheet worth around $6.5 million. If you go below it, it's only a first and a third. If you go above it and you have an idea that you know you're going to be able to get him locked up long term afterwards, and you think that this will make it an easier decision for Buffalo to not match it, and you give a first, a second, and a third. It's a little extra to pay, but if you offer it as 1 year, you're forcing Buffalo's hand to either make a decision and gambling that they can turn things around and keep Sam Reinhart, or take compensation and not risk losing him for nothing. And then you look around the league, I think there's multiple teams out there that should be able to that has a first and a third round pick in 2022, but let alone a second if there's a bidding war, because that's the other thing. There could be a bidding war amongst teams to do that, and are in positions where they want to be able to make a big splash to bring in a big player that can help them take that next step. Kevin, do you see teams out there that would be what teams out there do you think would be willing to do that?
Well, he's a number 2 pick in the 2014 entry draft. He is in 5 of his 6 full seasons. He's a 20-goal scorer, including this year, 25 goals in 54 games. So it's certainly on a trajectory up on a team that certainly was not a good hockey team last year in the Buffalo Sabres. I could see Calgary taking a shot at this. Brad Treliving is always aggressive. You look at Vancouver, Jim Benning wants to make some splashes. So I could see Vancouver taking a shot. Although Carolina, I in the offseason, I don't think they need to make major moves. This is a player that I think would fit very well in Carolina as a top 6 forward, a right-hand shot. I could see Columbus doing that as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if the New York Rangers, with new management and certainly in a certain different direction, he could be a good fit there as well, especially if they end up trying to go after Jack Eichel. If they could get Sam Reinhart as well, I think that would be a huge get for the New York Rangers as well. But let us know what you think. Would you make an offer sheet for Sam Reinhart? Whether other teams should be involved in that? Give us a follow on Twitter, podcast_hockey, Facebook.com, The Hockey Podcast, YouTube.com, The Hockey Podcast, and subscribe for more contact.